Welcome to my channel, Valuable Coins All World. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end. You won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare coins. And one coin that has captured the interest of collectors worldwide is the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. If you're someone who loves learning about numismatics or simply interested in the value of coins, this video is definitely for you. The Washington quarter dollar, first minted in 1932 to honor the first U.S. president, George Washington, has been in circulation for decades. Over the years, many variations of this coin have been minted, some with a lot of historical significance. But the 1965 Washington quarter is a bit different and holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, not because of its design but due to its unique and rare characteristics. In 1965, the United States was undergoing significant changes in its coinage. The country was still in the midst of the silver crisis, which led to a shift in the composition of coins. Starting that year, quarters were no longer made entirely of silver, as they had been since the late 1800s. Instead, they were minted with a composition of copper-nickel, causing many collectors and investors to wonder if the shift would affect the coin's future value. However, one particular batch of 1965 Washington quarters ended up being very special. These quarters were accidentally struck on a silver planchet, the type of metal that had been used for coinage in the past. This error, a mix-up in the minting process, resulted in a few coins being produced that were not only visually identical to the regular copper-nickel quarters but also had the valuable silver content. These rare silver quarters from 1965 are highly sought after, as they possess the composition and features of an older era of U.S. coinage, making them incredibly desirable to collectors and investors alike. Finding one of these silver Washington quarters in circulation is extremely rare. The U.S. Mint didn't produce many, and because the silver content wasn't visible or obvious at first glance, they passed through the hands of many people who had no idea of their value. In fact, it wasn't until much later that collectors realized just how special these coins were. If you happen to come across one, you're holding a piece of history that could be worth a small fortune. Now, let's talk about the big question. How much is a 1965 Washington quarter dollar worth? The value of a coin depends on a number of factors, including its rarity, condition, and demand from collectors. Since the 1965 Washington quarter with silver content is such a rare find, its value is significantly higher than regular quarters minted in the same year. As of now, a 1965 Washington quarter dollar that was struck on a silver planchet can fetch up to $160,000, an amount that would leave any coin enthusiast stunned. Yes, you heard that correctly, $160,000. If you manage to find one of these rare coins in your collection or by chance, you could be holding a rare treasure worth more than most people's homes. So, if you have any 1965 quarters in your pocket change, it's worth taking a closer look to see if you've got one of these silver beauties. Don't just dismiss them as another quarter. You could have a valuable coin right under your nose. Always remember, the world of coin collecting is filled with surprises, and sometimes the most unexpected finds can be the most valuable. That wraps up our deep dive into the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, their value, and the incredible stories behind them, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our future videos. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting. Top 2. We're diving deep into the world of U.S. coinage, specifically focusing on the 1967 Washington quarter dollar. This coin might seem ordinary at first glance, but it holds some very unique and valuable characteristics that make it an intriguing piece of numismatic history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, this coin is one that could change the way you look at quarters forever. The Washington quarter dollar was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, and it quickly became a staple in American coinage. Through the years, the design has remained relatively unchanged, but the coins themselves have evolved, especially in terms of their metal composition and rarity. The 1967 Washington quarter is one such example that stands out among the others due to its unique characteristics. Now, the 1967 Washington quarter wasn't initially considered rare. Like many coins produced in the mid-1960s, it was made using a standard copper-nickel composition, and millions of these quarters were minted and circulated throughout the country. However, what makes the 1967 quarter special isn't just the fact that it's part of the Washington series. It's about a few rare and valuable variations that have made this coin highly sought after by collectors. In particular, the 1967 Washington quarter that was struck on the wrong planchet has become a legend in the world of coin collecting. A wrong planchet error occurs when a coin is struck on a piece of metal that it wasn't intended for, leading to a coin with rare and valuable properties. In the case of the 1967 Washington quarter, a small number of these coins were struck on silver planchets, which are worth much more due to their precious metal content. These silver Washington quarters are far rarer than their copper-nickel counterparts, and their value has skyrocketed in recent years. While most 1967 Washington quarters are worth their face value of 25 cents, the ones struck on silver planchets are considered highly valuable. But what's even more fascinating is that the error wasn't immediately noticed, and many of these silver quarters were spun in regular circulation, going unnoticed by the public for years. So, how do you identify a 1967 Washington quarter that's worth significantly more than its face value? The key is to look for a few subtle differences. The most obvious is the weight and appearance of the coin. A silver planchet quarter will weigh slightly more than a copper-nickel one, and it will have a distinctive sheen that's different from the regular, more muted appearance of standard quarters. While it can be tricky to spot the silver version unless you know what to look for, the value difference is enough to make any coin enthusiast pay attention. Now, if you're wondering how much one of these rare 1967 Washington quarters is actually worth, the answer might blow you away. The value of a 1967 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet is incredibly high due to the rarity of the error and the demand for such coins among collectors. A single coin in excellent condition could be worth as much as $155,000. Yes, you heard that right. $155,000. It's truly remarkable how a small error in the minting process can result in such a significant increase in value. This is a prime example of why coin collecting can be such a rewarding hobby, and why even the most seemingly ordinary coins might be hiding a fortune. So, the next time you find yourself going through your spare change or looking at a collection of quarters, remember that there might be a rare 1967 silver Washington quarter waiting for you. If you think you might have one of these coins or you're curious to learn more about the fascinating world of rare coins, be sure to check your collection closely and do some research. You never know when you might stumble upon a treasure worth far more than its face value. That wraps up today's video on the 1967 Washington quarter dollar and its extraordinary value. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin collecting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep an eye on your coins, because the next big find could be just around the corner. Top 3. We're going to dive into the story of a coin that you might have come across in your pocket change, the 1970 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it might seem like just another regular coin, but believe it or not, there's more to this piece of currency than meets the eye. Some 1970 Washington quarters are incredibly rare, and they can be worth a fortune. Even though they were produced over 50 years ago, the Washington quarter dollar has a long history, dating back to 1932 when it was first minted to honor the legacy of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Over the years, the design has remained mostly the same, but there have been many variations that have sparked interest among collectors. By 1970, the U.S. Mint was in the midst of a transition in its coinage system. The Washington quarter, like many other coins of that era, was no longer made with silver, as it had been in the past. Instead, it was composed of copper-nickel, which made it look and feel different from the silver quarters of earlier decades. But there's a catch. Some 1970 Washington quarters were struck with a rare error that makes them worth far more than their face value. If you're a coin collector or someone who just happens to be interested in the world of numismatics, this could be your golden opportunity. You see, in 1970, a handful of Washington quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets, which are the thin discs of metal used to create coins. While most quarters from 1970 are made from a copper-nickel mixture, these rare silver-struck quarters contain actual silver, something that makes them far more valuable to collectors. These silver 1970 Washington quarters weren't meant to be produced, but due to an error at the U.S. Mint, a small batch of these coins were minted on the wrong planchet. At first, no one realized that these coins were any different from the regular copper-nickel quarters. They were distributed into circulation and went unnoticed by the public for years. It wasn't until much later that numismatists and coin collectors realized that some of the 1970 Washington quarters were made with silver, and that's when the excitement started. Now, if you're wondering how to tell whether a 1970 Washington quarter is made of silver or the more common copper-nickel, there are a few things to look out for. First, a silver quarter will have a distinct shiny, white appearance compared to the duller finish of the copper-nickel ones. You can also check the weight. Silver quarters are slightly heavier than their copper-nickel counterparts. But here's the big question. How much are these rare silver 1970 Washington quarters actually worth? The answer might surprise you. Because these coins are so rare and highly sought after by collectors, they can command a jaw-dropping price. A single 1970 Washington quarter that was mistakenly struck on a silver planchet could be worth as much as $140,000. That's right, $140,000 for a single quarter. This value is driven by the rarity of the coin and the fact that silver quarters are no longer minted, making any coin struck on silver planchets even more desirable. It's amazing how a small error during the minting process can turn an ordinary coin into a highly valuable collector's item. So, if you happen to have any 1970 Washington quarters, it's definitely worth taking a second look. While most of them are worth just their face value of 25 cents, the silver error coins could be your ticket to a small fortune. Always remember, in the world of coin collecting, the most ordinary-looking coins can sometimes turn out to be the most valuable. If you enjoyed learning about this rare and valuable coin, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future deep dives into the fascinating world of numismatics. Thanks for watching, and who knows, you might just find a rare silver 1970 Washington quarter in your change soon. Top 4. We're diving into a coin that holds a special place in American numismatic history, the 1974 Washington quarter dollar. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about a coin that was minted over 50 years ago? Well, there's more to this quarter than meets the eye. While most 1974 Washington quarters are your average, everyday coins, there's a rare and valuable version that could be worth far more than you expect. In fact, if you have one of these rare quarters in your collection, or even in your change, it could be worth a small fortune. The Washington quarter dollar, as many of you know, has been in circulation for decades. First minted in 1932 to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington, this iconic coin has gone through numerous changes over the years, both in terms of design and metal composition. By the time the 1970s rolled around, the U.S. Mint had already transitioned from using silver to a copper-nickel composition for most of its coins, including the Washington quarter. The 1974 Washington quarter, like most quarters of that era, was made of a copper-nickel alloy, meaning it didn't contain any precious metals like silver. However, this doesn't mean that the 1974 Washington quarter is just another run-of-the-mill coin. There are some very specific factors about certain versions of this coin that make them highly valuable today. In 1974, a very small number of Washington quarters were mistakenly struck on planchets that were meant for a different type of coin. This error in the minting process resulted in a rare variation of the 1974 quarter that is composed of 40% silver, just like the older silver quarters. These silver-struck 1974 Washington quarters are incredibly rare and extremely sought after by collectors. The minting error occurred due to a mix-up at the U.S. Mint, but once collectors discovered these error coins, their value skyrocketed. The reason these silver 1974 quarters are so valuable is twofold. First, the rarity of the coin makes it highly desirable to numismatists and investors alike. Given that only a very limited number of these coins were struck on the wrong planchets, the supply is incredibly scarce. Second, the silver content adds an extra layer of value. Even though the silver content is just 40%, silver quarters are always worth more than their copper-nickel counterparts, making them a prized possession for collectors. So, how do you know if you have one of these rare 1974 Washington quarters? There are a few telltale signs to look out for. First, you'll want to examine the appearance of the coin. Silver quarters have a much shinier, lighter color compared to the typical copper-nickel quarters. You can also feel the weight difference. Silver coins tend to be slightly heavier than their copper-nickel counterparts. If you have a scale at home, you can even weigh the coin to confirm if it matches the weight of a 40% silver quarter. But, of course, if you're unsure, it's always best to consult a professional numismatist who can authenticate the coin for you. Now, the big question is, how much could a 1974 Washington quarter struck on a silver planchet be worth? The value of these rare quarters can vary based on their condition and the demand from collectors. But if you have a high-quality specimen in good condition, you could be looking at a price tag that will make your jaw drop. These silver error coins from 1974 have been known to sell for as much as $130,000. Yes, you heard that right. $130,000 for a single quarter. This kind of value is a testament to the rarity and desirability of the coin. Even though the 1974 Washington quarter was minted in large numbers, the error coins that were struck on silver planchets are an entirely different story. They've become a highly coveted item for coin collectors, and their prices reflect that if you've been holding onto any 1974 Washington quarters, it's definitely worth checking them out to see if you have one of these rare silver-struck versions. You never know when you might be sitting on a small fortune just waiting to be discovered. So, the next time you're sorting through your spare change or going through your coin collection, take a moment to carefully examine any 1974 Washington quarters. You could very well have a rare and valuable treasure right in your hands. That if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, their histories, and their values, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our future videos. Thanks for watching, and who knows, you might just find a 1974 Washington quarter that's worth far more than its face value. Top 5. We're diving into a piece of U.S. history that you may have overlooked, the 1980 Washington quarter dollar. While many people might think of the Washington quarter as just another regular coin in their pocket change, the 1980 edition is actually a fascinating coin with some surprising value, especially when you dig a little deeper into its story. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a casual coin enthusiast, this video might just change the way you look at your spare change. The Washington quarter dollar has been a staple in American coinage since its introduction in 1932. The coin was created to commemorate George Washington's 200th birthday, and it quickly became one of the most recognized and beloved coins in the United States. Over the years, there have been many different variations of the Washington quarter, with changes in design, metal composition, and minting techniques. By the time 1980 rolled around, the Washington quarter was part of a long tradition, but it also had some significant changes that would make it stand out among the many years of production. By 1980. The U.S. Mint had completely phased out the use of silver in regular quarters, replacing it with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This meant that the Washington quarter, like most coins from this period, had no intrinsic silver value, making it worth only its face value unless it was part of a special edition or error coin. So why would anyone think that the 1980 Washington quarter is worth more than just 25 cents? Well, the answer lies in a rare error that occurred during the minting process. In 1980, a small number of Washington quarters were mistakenly struck on planchets that weren't intended for them. This error created a series of rare coins that were struck on the wrong metal, giving them unusual characteristics and making them highly valuable. These particular quarters were struck on silver planchets that were meant for other coins, which means they still contain silver, just like the older pre-1965 quarters. This error resulted in a unique variation of the 1980 Washington quarter that contains 90% silver, which is a significant departure from the standard copper-nickel versions of the time. This rare batch of silver 1980 Washington quarters may have passed unnoticed for many years, as they look almost identical to the regular copper-nickel versions at first glance. But once collectors realized what had happened, these coins quickly became highly sought after, and their value skyrocketed. As with any rare coin, the value of these silver 1980 quarters is based on a combination of factors, including their rarity, the demand from collectors, and the fact that they contain silver, an element that has long been considered valuable. So, how do you tell if you have one of these rare silver 1980 Washington quarters? The first thing to look for is the coin's weight. A silver quarter will weigh slightly more than a regular copper-nickel quarter due to the difference in the metal composition. You'll also notice that the silver version has a much brighter, shinier appearance compared to the typical duller copper-nickel quarters. If you want to be absolutely sure, you can weigh the coin or even have it authenticated by a professional numismatist who can tell you whether your coin is the rare silver version. Now, let's get to the big question. How much is the 1980 Washington quarter worth if you have one of the rare silver struck versions? As with any coin, the value can vary based on factors such as condition, rarity, and demand. But in general, a 1980 Washington quarter that was struck on a silver planchet can fetch an astonishing price. Depending on the quality of the coin, a silver 1980 Washington quarter can be worth as much as $118,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $118,000 for a single quarter. This makes the 1980 Washington quarter one of the most valuable coins from the late 20th century. It's incredible to think that something as common as a quarter, with a simple minting error, can turn into a rare and valuable treasure. Of course, finding one of these silver quarters is no easy task, as only a small number were produced, and most have already been collected or sold to eager buyers. If you're someone who loves hunting for rare coins, this is definitely one to keep an eye out for. It's a great reminder that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins could be hiding something extraordinary. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just starting to explore the world of numismatics, it's always exciting to learn about these hidden treasures that might be sitting right under our noses. So, the next time you're flipping through a handful of quarters, be sure to check for any 1980 Washington quarters that might stand out. You could very well be holding on to a rare and valuable coin that's worth far more than you ever imagined. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the 1980 Washington quarter and want to learn more about rare coins, their history, and their incredible value, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content. Thanks for watching, and remember, you never know when you might find a rare coin worth a small fortune.